Hello Giants fans, welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. The Giants beat the Padres 4-3 today. It was the second straight comeback win for the Giants. And I don't know how many of you thought that the 8-game winning streak was going to be snapped today, but it was extended to 9 games. The Giants rallied again. They've been doing this a lot lately, and it's just turned so many losses into wins for the Giants. Anthony DeSclafani pitched 5 innings today. He allowed 3 runs, so, I guess that's solid enough. I think DeSclafani is on a little bit of a decline, maybe not pitching as great as he was a little earlier in the year. That's certainly not a serious issue for the Giants right now. And there's plenty of time for him to get back to what it was looking like at the beginning. And then with the Giants behind 3-1 in the 7th inning, and Tristan Beck came in and pitched 3 innings after that. With the Giants behind 3-1 in the 7th inning, Brandon Crawford hit an RBI single to bring in a run. So Crawford, he's had a slow start to this year. His average wasn't looking great. In fact, he didn't even really have an everyday starting spot. But now we're seeing him at least get hits in good RBI situations. I think he's really picking things up with the bat a little bit. So you just never discount the possibility of veteran resurgence. We thought he was done right like before the 2021 season. He had a great year then, and then obviously he went on a decline again after that, but now I just think we can really appreciate what we're seeing from him. In the 8th inning, Joc Pederson hit a home run to tie the game at 3. Tyler Rogers pitched a scoreless top of the 9th. In the bottom of the 9th, the Giants loaded the bases, and then Pederson was walked to end the game. It's interesting that Pederson faced exactly the same situation today in the 9th inning as he did yesterday, having 2 outs and the bases loaded in a tied game. He faced exactly the same situation. And yesterday, he ended up striking out on what looked, and I don't know how accurate the game day strike zone is. I didn't program it, so I don't know. But yesterday, the pitch he swung on missed. It looked like that slider was in the dirt, so I just wasn't impressed by his swing. And you wonder, just after looking at this, I wonder if Pederson just took his experience yesterday and just learned something to use situationally. Obviously, with the bases loaded like that, you're playing for 1 run, and more specifically for 1 base runner, whether it's a hit or a walk or an error, although you don't hit the ball hoping that someone's going to make an error, so you're probably not including that in the real, but it would always be better to put the ball in play. Although with 2 outs, just a sacrifice out, obviously that isn't an option there, but situational approaches, I believe, are just a lot in a game, and probably all of the reasons for that are really beyond the scope of discussing, but one of those things is just the simple fact that sometimes you have to have a super aggressive, all-you-can-get strategy, and sometimes it's just you want to increase your likelihood of getting something done as much as possible. So obviously I don't know Pederson's whole makeup as a player and how he feels in every situation, but I do think that seeing him in this exact same situation with 2 outs and the bases loaded, where getting on base is going to end the game, win the game for the Giants. And yesterday, he struck out. It didn't matter. The point is really the Giants won anyway yesterday, but I'm just really focusing on Pederson's 2 key at-bats in these situations. And yesterday, he struck out, and it was on a pitch, didn't appear to be close to the strike zone. So this seems to be an instance where Pederson, maybe he just learned from that and really refined his approach. And he hit a home run in the 8th, and then I think that this could be just a really good example of situational hitting and making adjustments from one inning to the next. I mean, I don't know how much is that and how much is just the random distribution of a player's everyday approach, but there's got to be something here. I mean, realistically, a player has to focus on certain things every single day that he's playing baseball. So Pederson, from one day to the next, I think he just figured out, he probably learned something about how to come up to the plate in that situation, and he had a good eye today. And that was after tying game. He drove in the tying run as well as the winning run for the Giants. So just doing everything for the Giants that won the game. Now, just this whole concept of the Giants coming back in the late innings, that's so significant for this baseball franchise. It's not just something we're talking about that just relates to this past week. Not even something that relates only to this year. This is a really historical thing. This kind of improvement, from what it previously was, there is some history to this, and you could focus on just the ninth inning, but I think we could apply this to the eighth inning as well, these late innings of a ball game. Because a few years ago, it was like if the Giants got behind, and they were behind in the late innings, that was it for them. In 2018, I think that's a big reason why they didn't get a National League wildcard spot that year. Some of the raw potential they might have had, I mean, but there were just so many games where you're like, can't you kind of give yourselves a chance here? And yet it just, long story short, it just wasn't a strength for them coming back in extra innings. That's the history of this back in the bad old days for the Giants. But just think of how different it is now. And in 2021, boy, that year, it was the one where they hit 241 total home runs. So, and when they happened, a lot of them just happened at the right time for the Giants. They were able to put together a lot of late inning comebacks and turn a lot of losses into wins. In 2022, well, in a sense, you just have to say everything was kind of bad that year. Although I think they started it well enough that maybe it should have been a playoff spot, but they regressed and all that. But this year, and just this recent streak, what we're seeing, I really wouldn't take that for granted, what we're seeing, the Giants coming back. And it is incredible because Friday night's game against the Dodgers, they came back from a deficit and won in extra innings. Yesterday, they came back from a deficit in the ninth innings. They scored 2 runs that inning, and then in the 10th, they pitched through it. They won the game on a walk-off home run by Mike Yastrzemski. And today it was a walk-off. It was Joc Pederson hitting a home run and then getting walked to end it after 9 innings. I just have to wonder here, and this is irrelevant. The Giants won, and that's that. I just have to wonder if Pederson had, say he'd struck out again, would the Giants have won again in extra innings? I mean, their recent performance and, you know, just the general high stress of those situations, I do wonder what would happen. Would they have won? But thankfully, that's irrelevant. So you could say, as a team, the Giants, that's just an area where they've just turned it around. And it really can mean the difference between a playoff spot and not. So today, the Giants did everything well. Sometimes it just seems like they're able to do whatever they need to win games, and sometimes that's getting things going early and just scorching out the other team, and sometimes it's, you know, late when there's still a chance. They take advantage of it, and players do the right things with the bat at the right times. Thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you haven't. Also, please leave your questions and comments. You know where to do it. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.